Negotiations with Congress, not only about tax cuts, not only about stimulus spending, but also there's a very strong push in Congress to protect the airline industry, which does appear to be in a certain degree of distress. Administration working on all those fronts. John.
All right, Major Garrett at the White House, thank you very much. Now back to Paula Zahn in New York.
Thanks so much, John. Once again, we are almost to the minute, 2 hours away from the opening of the New York Stock Exchange. This is what that area looks like. Folks dressed up, holding their American flags, coming into work for the first time. A lot of folks tried to get in their offices yesterday and couldn't, but the cleanup effort has been so strong and efficient. That's why you're seeing the scene here today. We will bring the opening of the New York Stock Exchange to you live, followed by some of the silence that will come thereafter to honor those who lost their lives not far from here. We're going to take a short break now. Please stay with us.
The search for life and loved ones continues as President Bush promises victory against terrorism. For complete coverage, stay with CNN.
A typical car insurance agent is on the job during regular business hours. On the other hand, Geico insurance professionals are on the job 24 hours a day. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Oh, I didn't want mail.
You don't have to sacrifice service to save money. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hi, I'm Lori Farkas for Dish Network FYI. Did you know that one of the neatest parts of your Dish Network system is right in your hand? It's your remote. Check this out. Did you know you can watch one show and browse through your program guide at the same time? Just hit the Browse button and browse. Simply click up or down and check what else is on. If you find something better, just switch to that show. It's a remote control that keeps you in control.
This is CNN.
Good morning. It's 7:30 on the East Coast. We are only 2 hours away from the opening bell on Wall Street, an opening bell that will be watched with much anticipation. I'm Miles O'Brien at the CNN Center in Atlanta, now checking the latest developments in America's new war. A high-level Pakistani delegation is now in Afghanistan with a message from the U.S. to the Taliban government of Afghanistan: hand over Osama bin Laden within 72 hours. New York financial markets reopened today for the first time since the terrorist attacks on Tuesday. President Bush is calling on Americans to go back to work today after a weekend of mourning those killed in the attacks. And 2 new arrest warrants, sealed warrants, have been issued for material witnesses in connection with the attacks on New York and Washington. That brings the arrest total to 4, or at least the warrant total to 4. And New York Governor George Pataki has called a special session of the state legislature today to consider a package of anti-terrorism laws. Now to Paula in New York.
All right, thanks so much, Miles. I'm back there. There you go. We wanted to give you a preview of what might happen later today when the stock exchange opens. I know you heard some of what Lou Dobbs had to say, and joining me right now is Andy Sewer from Fortune Magazine, who has also a very good idea of what you might expect. Welcome.
Thanks,
good to have
Paula.
you with us. So
Thanks.
this clearly is historically one of the most anticipated openings of the market.
Absolutely. It's historical. The world is watching, and you have to remember that global markets have never been connected like they are today. Also, over 50% of American households own stock, so the world is watching.
And I think Lou cautioned us all not to panic about what happened in the overseas markets overnight. But when you hear a statistic that the Nikkei, the Tokyo market, hit an 18-year low, that can't make you feel real positive about what your investments may yield you today here in the States.
Well, that's right, Paula. And I think we shouldn't be surprised if the markets do drop here. It's hard to understand or hard to see a scenario where they don't drop a little bit. It's going to be a crazy day. Very high volatility, high volume, and no one really knows what's going to happen today.
And yet the bottom line is that you have a network of very powerful heads of financial institutions coming together trying to prevent a sell-off. Describe to us exactly what they're doing to prop up faith in this system.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has changed some rules, allowing companies to come in and buy stock to shore up their shares, the price of their shares. They're allowing companies to buy stock in the first 30 minutes of trading and the last 30 minutes of trading, something that is usually forbidden. They're letting them do that. They're letting corporate executives come in and buy. There's also jawboning going on with regard to short selling to prevent that from going on a lot today. On the other hand, if companies and investors and professional investors want to sell, say, airline stocks, which I think will be under pressure today, that's going to happen, and investors have to expect that.
Well, you heard those stories over the weekend when was it Continental talked about furloughing 20,000 people,
Yeah.
and we know that these airlines lost anywhere from $150 million a day to $267 million a day since the terrorist attacks last Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, airlines, insurance companies, they'll be under pressure. It could be that defense stocks, construction company stocks could be bought up. We really have no idea, and there's shares that are linked to bond trades, to trades overseas, to derivatives. There's so much volume, so much stuff going on today. It's going to be very wild.
A very powerful message was sent by Warren Buffett last night at Berkshire Hathaway when he said basically he thinks there are going to be some good buys in the market, suggesting the American consumers they might want to check out some new stocks today.
That's right. And of course, there have been email campaigns over the past couple days. Be patriotic, buy some shares of stock. That could happen. And it's true what Buffett was saying, that if you enjoyed or liked or thought a business was a good business last week, it still is today. I think we're going to see some wild trading today. We'll settle over the next couple days, and then we're really going to have to see how things go over the next couple months as we head towards October and November.
But the bottom line is that people should not panic.
Right.
And that's hard to convince folks who are watching how the overseas markets did.
Well, that's right. I mean, if there's anything to learn in these situations, panic selling never works. I mean, you sell this morning, you're going to have to figure out a way to get back in. And, you know, let the whole thing sort itself out with the institutional investors. A very good day, I think, for retail investors to sit on the sidelines.
Let's get into some of the minutia of what individual institutions are going to have to deal with today. First of all, a lot of companies can't even return to their buildings. They've transported their workers out to New Jersey in some cases, into Brooklyn. How will that affect the individual investor? Are you going to have a hard time getting through to your broker?
That's why it might be not a bad idea just to sit on the sidelines. Lehman Brothers, not trading in their ordinary building. Salomon Brothers, not in their ordinary building. Merrill Lynch, same thing. If you try calling your broker and get a busy signal, don't be surprised. It's really a great idea to just sit back and watch. It's going to be a wild ride today, Paula, and it might be a great idea to just watch it.
One last question for you. There's a great deal of concern, of course, about all the trading records that might have been lost in all this tons and tons of debris. Is there a permanent record anywhere of trades people might have executed last week where the paperwork could have gotten lost in the World Trade Centers?
It is possible. I mean, you've seen the tremendous amount of paper that was blown all over the city. It was really tragic. My understanding is, from talking to CEOs and prominent people on Wall Street, is that 99.9% of the stuff was backed up in computers in Colorado, in New Jersey, in Connecticut. And so at some point you'll be able to get a statement. You're going to be able to figure out where your account is and your trades are okay. But you do have to be a little bit patient here. Don't try to get the information at 9:30 this morning and expect your broker to get it to you. I mean, we're all going to have to bear with things a little bit here.
Andy Serwer of Fortune Magazine, we look forward to having your expertise with us throughout the morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula.
Right now I'm going to check in with Bill Hemmer, who continues to stand by outside of the New York Stock Exchange, where many thousands of New Yorkers are just beginning to show up for work. What are you seeing now, Bill?
Indeed they are, Paula. People continue to stream in down here, and I can't tell you, the dust and the smoke in the air still reminding a lot of people what happened last Tuesday, and for many of them it's their first time back. We talked to some people in line going through security checkpoints at this time. They say it smells like Tuesday. It smells like death. That's a bit of the attitude we're picking up right now. Let's bring in Anthony Alvarino, who's just walking by here. First time back, Anthony?
Yeah, since Tuesday morning.
Okay, you're a trader on the floor?
Yeah.
How do you feel coming back?
There's no words to describe it. It's terrifying. It's devastating. I've lost a lot of friends, and it's just a terrible feeling.
Do you think people coming back to work in this part of Manhattan are prepared for what you're describing to us emotionally?
I think some have an idea. We dreaded it all weekend, but we knew we were going to have to come back. I had a
think it can be said enough is the friends that you lost and the family members who are lost as well. There's an incredible amount of intellectual capital that went down in those buildings as well. How does this market respond when you know that fact?
I think initially it's going to be very volatile, like everybody has said all weekend, and we're going to have some tough couple of days ahead of us probably, but all in all, I think when we get opened and do what we have to do, we're going to be all right.
All right. Have you talked to friends, and if so, what are they saying?
Basically the same thing. They just, nobody can believe that the World Trade Center is not there anymore. That's the biggest thing. You just can't believe. Those towers are not there, that they came down, and we were here when they came down. It was unbelievable.
I talked with one guy going through security at this point. He says it smells like Tuesday. It smells like death. With the smoke in the air and the dust still around here, the reminder is still obvious and clear. And the other thing, Anthony, that I think really strikes people, we're only 3 blocks from the World Trade Center, and everybody can see that site when they come down here.
That's true. That's one sight you're always going to see, and it's always going to bring back that feeling of Tuesday morning, especially when the second plane hit. That was probably the most scariest part.
Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. The security is extremely tight today. You're going to have a long wait to get inside. Best of luck, okay?
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Paula, I can tell you after walking up the street, for our viewers, the New York Stock Exchange up the street about a block on the left-hand side with an enormous American flag draped across the front facade that was put up over the past few days, again, as a symbol to remind people of the strength of the financial markets that will be kicking off again in less than 2 hours' time. Also want to pass along to you some of the other reaction just picking up from people coming back to work today. Some are saying, hey, listen, it's time to get back to work, and some are suggesting it is happy to see familiar faces. You know, a number of people who, when those towers went down, they described the situation as chaos. And in addition to that, people just scattered and went in numerous different locations and directions. And to see people once again back here, for many folks, that was indeed a happy sight. We have some videotape, obviously, of people coming back. American flags are being carried by many folks. Hugs are being exchanged, again, as a symbol of warmth and emotion that continues to be expressed down here. The other thing that I think is quite obvious is the security detail. We're seeing dogs go through bags laid out on the sidewalk here. Dog sniffing is indeed being a top priority at this point. And the other thing, security detail, just trying to get into the exchange. Normally they say to take about 10, 15 seconds to clear security. But what we're seeing from our perspective, I don't know if we can take our cameras up here again, it might be a bit difficult past those Con Ed trucks there, the electricity trucks here. But there are hundreds of people who work inside, traders and employees, waiting in line, several hundred people deep. It's going to be a long, difficult task, not only trying to get inside, but also trying to figure things out. Some people told us that they wanted to get here early to make sure their workstations were still okay and that the computers were up and running. But Dick Grasso, the chairman, says, don't worry, things are working and things will work fine when we get underway again about an hour and 45 minutes from now. Paula?
I'll tell you, Bill, one of the things our producer, Kathy O'Hearn, and I witnessed yesterday and going into some of these buildings that are right at ground zero was that many of the lobbies have been turned or transformed into supply areas. And in many cases, there are still cots basically lining, you know, the major first floors of the buildings. So a very changed landscape that New York workers have to get used to and adjust to this morning. Thanks, Bill. See you a little bit later on this morning. Back here in New York City, I am joined by Victor Lauger. He was one of the very first uniformed personnel on the scene last Tuesday. He joins us from our building today. Sir, I very much appreciate your coming in. I know you didn't want to be up here on the roof with me because of the very painful reminder of what you've been through. Tell us where you were when you got the call on Tuesday morning. Victor, can you hear me? Apparently, Mr. Lauger can't hear me. Victor, can you hear me? All right, we're going to try to come back to that because Victor, I think, probably has one of the most complete accounts you will hear of what it was like when people were being evacuated. I know you have heard some accounts where people describe an orderly evacuation from the Twin Towers. That is not what Mr. Lauger experienced, and what he has to say is well worth listening to. We're having a little problem with that audio. Meanwhile, let me go back to the picture of the New York Stock Exchange. I wanted to alert you to the fact that at 9:30, of course, the markets will get underway.